Hi everybody, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are and watching me from. My name is Sally Roper and here's my humble little studio in Ocho Rios, Jamaica. And I thought that what I would do today is talk to you about production tools and maybe the evolution that I have gone through over my 15 years of being a potter. The tools that I have used to create multiple forms of the same size and dimension. It hasn't been easy. I remember when I first started out, the thought of making two mugs identical was just absolutely horrifying and frightening, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. But the only way to do it is to actually just sit down and try and measure out 10 balls of clay and try and make the same form, the same size all 10 times. And you're going to have hits and misses, but that's the name of the game of pottery, and that's how we do it. So I just want to go through a bit of the evolution, as I said, of the tools that I have learned to use that have made this much easier for me. And if you are a beginner potter and you want to make a couple of mugs the same size, I hope this video helps you. If you're an advanced potter, it doesn't help to go back and review some of the techniques that you have either learned and forgotten or don't use anymore, and you say, you know what, I can go back and start doing this over again. So I hope this video helps you. I'm going to move the camera down to my wheel because it's where I have all of the stuff that I need, and what I'm going to eventually make are 3 coasters, which is also a very simple form if you are a beginner. So let me just drop this down. Okay, so when I first started out, what I did was I actually just tried to do it freehand, and I wasn't really very successful. So what I started out with was using a chopstick, and what I would do is I would take my ball of clay and I would slam it down. I'm going to be using this later, so can you see? Oh, you can't see. Hold on, there we go. I'd slam it down onto the splash pan, and then I would stick my needle tool in and then make the adjustment as to whatever height I wanted to make my piece. Let me do it this way. And that worked really well, except I kept knocking this because it's a firm form, this chopstick. And then it would either slide or slip or go up or down or whatever. And so I quickly abandoned this. Well, I didn't totally abandon it. I modified it. So what I ended up doing was taking a twist tie, and I would just attach it to the end. So it's flexible. And so if I'm throwing and my hand hit it, it didn't affect anything because this would just snap back into place. And I thought that was just a positively brilliant idea. And I did that for a good couple of years. And anyway, so as I said, I just took the end of one of the twist ties and I just taped it to the end of my chopstick. And then I would, again, put it on here. And so if I nicked it when I was throwing, it would just come back. And that helped me out a lot. So that's something for you to think about doing if you don't have any other tool. Just take a twist tie and attach it to the end of a chopstick or a pencil or whatever kind of a form you want to use that's going to be firm enough to hold it into position so you know where you want to make your pot. All right, so that's the beginning. And then I got into calipers, and what I would do is, of course, I would fastidiously throw the very first piece. Let's say it's a mug. I don't have one. Yeah, let's say here. I can use this piece for demonstration. So I would fastidiously make this because this is the form that I want to make and I want to repeat. And then I would take my caliper and I would measure the end, and then the next piece I would throw it to this. And then I would use rules to get the height and all kinds of things. And it just became an easier way than using this, because I would keep knocking it and taking it out of line. So then I would just do that, and then of course always a ruler, because you always want to measure your pieces to know if, when you're doing repetitive, you want to know your height and your width of the first one you make so that you can make multiples of it. So as I said, I would use my caliper for the width of the pot, and I'd use my ruler for the height, and then I would go about making multiple forms the same that way. Or I could also use well, there's two types of calipers. So one, of course, is this one here, and then you also have this one here, and then you could just measure and just do that and mark the width, and there I'd have the width of my pot. So those really worked well. Then I was watching, I can't remember exactly whose site it was because it was many years ago, probably I'd say 6 or 7 years ago. I found this piece here, and let me see if I can, I'm just gonna have to raise this up a bit. And this I bought from Darren Ellis. And Darren Ellis is in the UK. And I thought it was brilliant because it's got two arms that move up and down, and then you have a bolt here on the side. And I would just loosen that, and I could adjust the arm this way. And then on the end, he has these pointers, and they're rubber. So again, much like this tool that I created for myself that had the twist tie, because of the flexibility of it, this is also the same thing, and it's got a rubber end, and it's got two arms. So if you wanted to maybe mark where the bottom of your pot was, or where the belly, if you're doing a vase and your pot has a change in width in the shape, then you can use these two, and this could mark the height, this could mark the belly, or it could mark the base. I mean, you could do all kinds of things, but it was brilliant. And I used this then for a couple of years, and it was great. And so I would just stick it beside my wheel, and then I could do my measurements on this pot. Let me see, let me just show you. Let me bring this down just a little bit now. And so then I would just mark this one at the bottom, tighten it up, mark this one at the top, and tighten it up. And there I have the two dimensions that I need. And then every time I throw it. And the nice thing is when you get to the top of your pot, you can just lift these up like that, and then take the pot off, put down your next ball of clay, and then you would drop these back down again. And they don't get in your way at any point. So this was great, and this was a really nice addition to my tools. Then I went and I was watching Joe Thompson of Old Forge Creations, and what he does is he uses a laser leveler, and I thought, well, that's really great. So if you can see on my hand, there's a cross, and this is from the laser leveler, which is right here in my studio. You can see it right there, and this is my label, and I've got it set now for the coasters that I'm going to be making for you. But this was a deal, not a deal breaker. This was great for me, and it made everything so much easier. So what I would do then, again, if I was making this pot, and then I would mark the width with of course the up and down, and the height with the one going across, and then I'd be able to set it. So if I was making this, and then you can even see the lines on the pot. I hope you can see that, or you're moving it across. There, maybe that's a good way to show you. And then what I would do is I would make the adjustments on the leveler to the size of the pot that I wanted. But again, for today's purposes, I'm making you coasters, so I don't really care about the height. I'm more concerned about the width, and I already have it set and preset for the width that I want to make my coasters. So this leveler has been what I've been using primarily now when I make when I make multiples of the same form. So with that in mind, let me go ahead and show you. So now I have 3 balls of clay that they're all 9 ounces. I'm going to be making a coaster. So this is what I'm making. I've already made one, and it is so. How wide is it? I thought what I want to do is I want to make the coaster about 4 1/4 inches. And so I used my regular rule, and I was kind of looking down and thinking 4.5 inches or 4.25 inches. I said, that's a pretty good size. I bought these cork backings that I can attach to the bottom of the coaster when they're finished and fired, and they're exactly 4 inches. So I thought what I would do is make my coaster about 1/4 inch, so it's going to end up being 1/8 inch on either side, a little bit larger, make the coaster a little bit larger than these. But I bought these on Amazon. It was really cheap. I don't think it was, I was certainly under $10, and I have 80 coaster backings. So I decided today that I might as well start using them. So these are the coasters that I'm going to make. And so what I did was, I know I want to make it 4.25 inches wide. And then I have, which has been one of the most valuable tools that I have in my arsenal. And it is the shrink rule, and it has 14%, 12%, and on this side it has 10% and 6%. So you would look up at this. So I'm using B-Mix, Laguna B-Mix 5, which is a 12% shrink rule. So what I wanted to do then was, I need to measure out, because this is going to shrink 12%, I need to mark out to 4.25. So what I did was, I set this down, and anyway, as you can see, with this particular piece, it is 4.25 inches wide. That's what it will be finished. It's not what it is as thrown. In thrown, it is exactly 5 inches, or if you're in the Commonwealth, it is 12.5 centimeters. And so I use this as well. So like I said, I get very fastidious when I'm making the very first one, and I take my time. It probably takes me 10 minutes to make it. And then afterwards, these will only take me about a minute, because I've done all the work. My hands have very good memory, and I've got all the measurements made. I've got my laser leveler set at the width that I want, and all I need to do now is just throw this ball of clay. I know how much clay that I need to use. I like the thickness of the coaster that I've chosen to use, because I'm going to let these dry a little bit, and later on this afternoon I'm going to cut grooves in them, which is where the water or the condensation of the cup, whatever you have on your coaster, will go into the grooves. And I'm going to ultimately fire these to bisque. I want them thirsty, as we call them, thirsty coasters, so they will absorb the water as it drips onto the coaster, which is really important for where I live in the Caribbean, because water drinks with ice, you get a lot of condensation, and cold beers and things like that. So that's kind of important. So these ones are all going to be made, and I'm going to use, I took it out, and what did I do with it? Oh gosh. I took out the tool. I spent a while deciding on what tool to use, and now I can't find it. Oh well. I have a diamond core tool that I'm just going to run and cut some grooves into, sorry, I wish I knew where it was, into this when it dries a little bit more. Okay, so let's go. And this is really a very simple form in throwing. So if you're an advanced potter, you might not be interested in the rest of this video, but if you're a beginner, this will become very helpful. So just for backup, I will take my caliper and I will measure 4.25 inches. So I put one side there and one side there. So now this is set to 4.25. And on the sample that I showed you, you can see that that's 4.25. Okay? So my laser is at the correct width, my caliper is at the correct width, my rule is correct, so I've now got 3 tools that I can use to verify that this is going to be the correct size. So I have pre-measured. Again, these are 9 ounces. I apologize that I don't know what it is in grams. And I'm just going to slightly dampen. I'm using the Sin Tools, HSINTOOLS, Sin Tools, and I have their bat system, his bat system, and I absolutely love it, especially for any item that's where the base is under 5 inches. But it just, it's an aluminum bat system, and all I do is just slip these in. And it's got a nice little groove here, so when I go to take it out after I make the piece, I can just slide it out like that. I don't like to handle my pieces very much if I don't have to after I throw them, because I don't want to misshape them. So let's go. I'm just going to slap this on, give it a pounce and make sure it's on there securely. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my hands over it, and you're not going to be able to see too easily what it is that I'm doing, but I'm going to put my hands over. My little finger is going to go right along here, and it's going to create contact of the clay to the bat, and it's going to seal it so that no water gets underneath. I don't use much water in my throwing anyway. And then my hands are going to cup around, and it's going to force all this clay into center. So I wet my hand a little bit, and I just go like this, and I'll show you my first thing that I've done. So what I'm starting to do now is to put my finger on here to create this seal. Okay? But it's all kind of in one, and you can see where my hands are touching the clay by how dirty they are here. And what I'm doing is I'm pulling force. I learned from Sarah Wells, Roland. She uses, instead of using your hand like this, which I did for many, many, many years, she in fact does it the opposite way. She comes in from the top and pulls, let me do it this way, pulls into her clay this way and uses this force as opposed to this. But I kind of do a combination of both. I've got my elbow locked into my hip right here, and this stays pretty solid. And then all I do now is I just use the top of my right hand, and I just bring my clay into my left hand, and I squeeze. And you can see that it's starting to center this part of the clay, not the top part, because I haven't done anything about that. And the seal is there from my little finger going in, and my little finger just sits on there and creates that seal. Now remember, this is only 9 ounces of clay, so it's not very much clay. And then I'll just go on the top with my hand like that, and I'll just kind of smooth out. And then I will bring this down, and I control the width with this hand. So I'm kind of doing this. And just that motion alone brings my pot into center. And I can just test it by holding my finger here, and it's running along really smoothly. I'm not getting a wobble or anything like that. Next, so I'm happy with how my clay has centered, and you saw how easy it was. Next, I take my little finger in at center, and it just finds center naturally. And I just press down, and then what I'm going to do is roll. So my hand is like this, then I'm going to just roll my hand down, and it's going to press this clay down to the bat. So I do that, and then I just bring my hand down, and it also pushes out the clay. Okay, so now my clay is on the bat. What I do now is I take my knuckle again, and I go in the middle, and all I do now is very slowly towards me, well, kind of at 5 o'clock, I just roll, I just use my little finger, the knuckle of my little finger, and I'm paying attention and looking. Now I've pulled it out too far, and this is going to be too thin for what I want. So like I said, the first one is always the one that I'm fastidious with, so I probably won't use this in the group because it's going to end up being too thin. In fact, I pulled it out to 5 1/4 instead of 4 1/4. So what I could do is take my needle tool and take some of this off. But this is going to end up making my coaster too thin. So I goofed on the first one because I just went too thin. Okay? So I'm not gonna spend any more time on this because I'm gonna end up reclaiming the clay. And I'll take the clay that I just took off it, pick up that, and I can make a new ball of clay. Okay. Let's try this again. New ball of clay. Just smash it into place. Like I said, use my little finger to create that seal down there. I'm going to cone up one time. I'm going to smooth out the top. You can see what I'm doing, smoothing out the top. Then I'm going to use the heel of this hand to push this down, and this hand now controls the width. And everything comes into center. I hold it there for about 5 revolutions or 10 revolutions just to make sure. And you can see that the pot, well, slight wobble. So I'll get rid of it. Okay, that's a little better. All right. So now, again, put my finger down like that. Push my clay down, just using my hand. This is my tool. Now I'm not going to go as shallow as I did before. And if there is a slight wobble or an edge, that's easy to fix. Okay, so this is as wide as I want it because I'm beginning to see the mark of my laser. So I don't want to go any wider than this. I'll take my thumb and I'll go along like this, and I try to even out that clay because it's going to be a little higher in the middle because that's just how I throw. And I'll push it down a little bit and I'll go across. I go back and forth a few times. Okay, so here's my level, and you can see that my pot is probably just a little wider than it needs to be. This is my caliper, and I can look again, and that confirms that I've gone a little bit wide, but not wide enough where it's going to be harmful to this particular piece, like the other one. So I have this tool also that I got, and I'm sorry it's so messy. I got it from Joe Thompson at Old Forge Creations, and it's got this little groove. It's got these 2 grooves here, which I use for the rim of my pots. And I'm just going to cut away that excess clay. And I'm getting close to my line, so I'll take a little bit more off. Now I can verify and use my calipers. It's still a bit wide. Okay, so let's resort to, this is all part of repetitive throwing in production. If things are too tall, I use my needle tool, and I'm just going to take off hardly any. I'm going to take off about 1/8 of an inch. I just slowly go down until I hit the wheel. Then I can just take that off. I'm just going to use my finger and my thumb. My thumb goes on the side, my finger goes on the top. Whenever I touch my clay, my hands are always supporting each other. I rarely do this. I'll do this so that these 2 are touching each other and supporting. Now I can use my calipers and measure, and that's the right size. Can look on my laser light, and my laser is right at the edge. I don't know that you can see it, but I can see it. And that's it. I'll take I have this little triangle tool, and I just go in. I'm hardly going in a little bit. You can see the little bit I took off, and it just creates a slight little groove in there. And because I'm going to cut grooves in this later, all I'm going to do now is underwire I'm going to actually clean clean my insert. I'm going to run this under, just kind of go slowly, and then I'll take this off. There you have one, and I'll show you the second one. This one will go a lot faster now because my hands have gone back to their memory, and I know what I'm doing. My mind, my brain and my hands are working in sync. So again, just bring this in, little fingers creating the seal there. My hands are going in, and I'm coning this up. Okay, it's just going to go up like that, which forces the clay into the center. Use the heel of my left hand, and I use the cup of my right fingers, and that's going to control the width, how far out the clay goes. This controls how it goes down, and between the two and the forces working together, the clay has to come into center. I'll hold it there till I feel it. You'll feel it. And I take my hands off slowly. There's a little bit of a wobble here. I can go in and fix that with my thumb. And I don't really pay much attention to that because that'll get swallowed up by the clay when I bring the clay down to level. So again, I make my little indentation with my finger, my little finger, knuckle of my little finger, and I just press down. And then I just drop my hand down and bring that clay down to the surface of the bat. Okay, put my finger in the middle, and again I'm going to draw it towards me. It's better to start thick because I can always go thinner, which was what I did on the first one. I went too thin and I couldn't bring it back. So again, now I'm checking the width. I'm almost at the right width now. Like I said, once you make one, you know what you're making. Two, the second one is just your hands going, okay, this is what I need to do, and usually by the third or fourth one, you've got it, and you saw how quickly that happened. So now, a little wider than I need it to be, but I can take that off with this tool. Throw that in my slop bucket. I have a slop bucket here. Well, you can actually see it. A little bit of a wobble there. Anyway, I measure it. I can measure this. Again, it's too wide. So I'm going to take this tool and I'm going to just take off that little bit on the edge. Holding my hands very steady, all I'm doing is pressing down. Cut that off. Use my thumb and my finger. Smooth out that edge. I can go back and use this tool here. And now I can look on this saying that's about right. I can look on this and reconfirm that's the right size. And again, if I want to take my shrink rule, again I'm 12%, so I put 12% up. And I show, and that says exactly 4 1/4. So that's it. I'll clean my. When these get to be leather hard, I will make sure that the surface of them is flat. And then I will do the little carve, the little indent carve. I'm sorry that I can't find that tool. I haven't got a clue where I put. Oh, here it is. So this is the tool that I'm going to use by Diamond Core Tools, and it's got I don't know if you can see it. It's got a little indent here, which will be the groove that will catch the water. Anyway, this is the tool I've decided to use. So anyway, so that's that, and I'll take this off and put it with the others. You can see there are the two 2 saucers that I made, or coasters that I made, and they're the same size and same height, same everything. So I want to thank you very much for joining me. This went on a lot longer than I anticipated it to. I was going to say, okay, I'm only going to do like a 10-minute video, but anyway, I've gone on and done half an hour. But thank you for spending the time with me. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe. I hope that that the things that I covered with the tools that I have progressed through in my years as a potter, I hope that that this helps you in deciding what will work best for you. Every potter is different, so what is a favorite tool for me may not be for yourself, but that's okay, because we're all individuals. We're all our own potter. So thank you very much. Have a really, really wonderful day. If you like this video, please subscribe if you have not subscribed already. And I look forward to making another video in the really near future. Thanks a lot for joining me, and have a really wonderful day. Bye-bye.